this year when he said he had faced serious health issues like a dead worm found in his brain.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing? This country is in the It's over. It's fucking over, dude. Oh my Lord. Oh. But all right. Trump says he's not reconsidering tapping Matt Gaetz for Attorney General role.
In the Trump's transition, the president-elect is standing behind Matt Gaetz as his pick for Attorney General as the House Ethics Committee considers whether to vote on release.
What is this? I just remember 100% at Chatters chirping a week back. Yeah, no, guys, this is a leftist space. Okay? This is a leftist space. And what that means is that, yes, there are going to be an endless amount of chirpers who think that the best method forward is to utilize academic, super progressive language and to ensure that there is no room for growth for others. It's okay. There has never been a moment in my life where I have entertained that value. It's actually quite interesting that people say shit like this, especially because a lot of my naysayers oftentimes try to present me as one who is completely closed off from reactionary sentiment. Okay? I'm not. I understand where it comes from, and my goal always is to try to move people away, shift people away, and help them develop a better understanding of the world around them. Okay? There is a video of me talking about the intersectionality of privilege and privilege blind spots all the way back in like 2018. Okay? And being more understanding of people. Anyway, I don't know if I can find it here, but that's it. If we took all the position that people cannot change, none of us would be here. Exactly. Bye-bye, Anne. That's what's so frustrating about this. What's frustrating about this is that there is a blind spot. No one can overcome the power of propaganda or social conditioning. And leftists understand that there are systemic forces at play, that there are systemic wrongs, oppressions of hierarchy, white supremacy, patriarchy, and the like. Okay? Rigid heteronormativity. But then they never actually consider that maybe some people who don't pay close attention are going to be blinded by that. Those are two things that I find very frustrating. Leftists would be like, let's be the first to tell you like America's white supremacist, that America has white supremacist systems. Racial oppression is still very much real. Okay? But then they act like surprise Pikachu whenever they encounter a person that is victim to said social conditioning. Yeah, what did you expect? Of course, people are going to take the normal position for granted. They're not going to think about it. Okay? I come at this conversation with that understanding. Okay? And yes, you can say, oh, Hasan, you're a white guy, you're privileged. That's why you can do that. I can't. And it's like, sure, okay, that's fair. But that's why I do what I do, and I do it best. Okay? No, it's not what is white privilege in the affirmative action debate. It's very, very frustrating. But I have never allowed naysayers to hold up any sort of space and to stop and to stop this community from growing, and I will never allow it. If you want to succumb to your own personal narcissistic desires and say it's unacceptable that there is any representation of like commonly held beliefs on this broadcast, this is actually harming me, this is actually hurting my feelings, well then yeah, this might not be a place for you. But I think every single person, including the 14% of this community that are trans, understand what it looks like in the real world and how people arrive at those conclusions, and what my goals are here in terms of de-radicalizing people and making sure that they don't have transphobic beliefs, right? And that way, they get to enjoy this massive space where we can have fun, knowing full well that you will be protected. Why the trans call out, though? No, it's a great example. If I were to be at the mercy of chatters who say, well, you talked to a transphobic person, And I did not like the way you conducted yourself in that conversation. And I apologize for that and never actually and never actually followed through on conversations like this. There wouldn't be so many people in this community that are no longer transphobic. Transphobia is one of the most normalized forms of bigotry. Like overt transphobia is one of the most normalized forms of bigotry. That's it. And so a lot of people that might not be receptive to this kind of messaging, will you stop using gay as an insult? No, absolutely not. If you find this to be contributing to the endless sea of homophobia, then you are exactly what I'm talking about. I like that being in a leftist space means that there will always be someone that proves the exact point that I was making. You understand? That's what's so funny about it, is that like there is immediately a point, there's immediately a person that's going to come in hot, okay? And they're going to come in and they're going to fucking hit the line that I was stepping on. Anyway, I think I've done enough work in this space in actively de-radicalizing people and actively defending marginalized communities that I know a little bit about these sorts of things. I know what I'm talking about, you know?
Releasing a report on sexual misconduct allegations against the former congressman. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce is in West Palm Beach with the story. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, Georgia. Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General is facing a real uphill battle. Today, the bipartisan House Ethics Committee whether to vote to release its report on Matt Gaetz and those allegations as this morning we are learning more about the payments he allegedly made to women for sex. This morning, President-elect Donald Trump is standing by his controversial pick to be his attorney general, former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz.
Are you reconsidering the nomination of Matt Gaetz?
No. Trump in Texas alongside Elon Musk to watch his SpaceX rocket launch. The world's richest man using his megaphone to boost Trump's embattled choice, posting Gaetz will be our hammer of justice. But first, Gaetz has to get through the confirmation process. He has already been working the phones, and this morning, Gaetz is planning to meet with senators in person to plead his case.
He wants a shot to be able to lay out his
the f***ing cowards did not release it.
vision for the department and also to respond to these various allegations. And, I said, hey, the confirmation hearing is the place and chance to do that.
The bipartisan House Ethics Committee spoke with two women who say Gaetz paid them for sex. Overnight, ABC News exclusively obtaining financial records revealing Gaetz'
EFT not trying to own your interlocutors with a tactical N-word when talking about black issues, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to do stupid shit like that, obviously. Like, there are lines, There are obviously lines. And the same goes for transphobia, right? Like, I'm not going to engage in transphobia. Like, there were chatters yesterday talking about Sarah McBride, the trans congressperson from Delaware, being a fucking Zionist, as like Nancy Mace is up her ass about, being trans and shit. And it's like, what? Like, it's still not okay that they're being transphobic. Yeah, she is super pro-Israel, but people are still being transphobic towards her.
Appears to have sent the women over $10,000, including 27 Venmo payments, some labeled just because, travel, and extra for you. And this check for $750 made out to cash and allegedly signed by Gaetz. The women testifying to the committee that some of the payments were for sex. Sources tell ABC that one of the women also testified she saw the congressman having sex with a 17-year-old girl. The committee also heard from that 17-year-old girl, now in her 20s. Gaetz denies any wrongdoing, but some Republicans say they want to know more.
I think that if they want a speedy consideration of this nomination, we've got to have as much transparency as we can have.
There needs to be legitimate vetting. But when I say legitimate, I mean just thorough vetting that the committees do. This is our job.
If Trump's picks can't get enough support to be confirmed, Trump's incoming Deputy Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller, says the president-elect will push for senators to forego their vetting responsibilities to get his nominee through via recess appointments.
The president has won a mandate, and he will use all lawful constitutional means to fulfill that mandate on behalf of the people who voted for him.
Gaetz is just one of several controversial cabinet picks. Trump has tapped noted vaccine skeptic Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to be Secretary of Health and Human Services, and now announcing one of Kennedy's top deputies will be TV personality Dr. Mehmet Oz.
We'll save lives today.
Oz, who ran a failed Senate campaign in Pennsylvania, picked to run the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, overseeing millions of Americans' health insurance, including the Obamacare exchanges, a program he's criticized in the past. Neither Kennedy nor Oz has any government experience, and both have frequently clashed with medical experts. Early during the pandemic, Oz promoted anti-malaria drugs to treat COVID, even though they were shown to be ineffective. The FDA.
He also was called in the car. I mean, this guy is a fucking, like, he is known to sell bullshit products while using his doctor status to hawk products. Like, he was called into Congress for it. It's actually crazy. But of course, let's be real. As a Turk, I gotta look at this Turkish DEI and say, I'm in support of it, baby.
FDA once called a warning he issued about apple juice, quote, irresponsible and misleading. And he was dragged before Congress a decade ago to face questions about his so-called miracle weight loss products.
Yep.
The scientific community is almost monolithic against you in terms of the efficacy of the 3 products that you called miracles.
And for Education Secretary, Trump turning to Linda McMahon, his transition co-chair. She was the head of the Small Business Administration during Trump's first term and is the former head of World Wrestling Entertainment. McMahon, now tasked with leading an agency Trump has vowed to dismantle. Now shepherding Matt Gaetz through these meetings with senators today is the incoming Vice President J.D. Vance. The Trump transition team clearly willing to spend some political capital to get Gaetz confirmed, and of course still not ruling out doing this through those recess appointments if necessary. Michael.
All right, Mary, thank you so much for that.
President-elect Trump, and speaking of Elon Musk, they watched the latest test flight of Musk's SpaceX Starship rocket in Texas yesterday. The 2 men appear closer than ever, and it's raising questions about potential ethics concerns. Caitlin Huey-Burns is in West Palm Beach, Florida. Caitlin, good morning.
And good morning to you, Nate. Well, Elon Musk has become something of an informal advisor to Donald Trump, weighing in on cabinet picks and even crashing a call with a world leader. But all of this is putting a spotlight on the relationship between Musk's business ventures and the federal government.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump met in Texas on Tuesday to watch as Musk's company SpaceX test launched its largest vessel.
3, 1.
The two have been inseparable since election. This relationship also spotlights potential conflicts of interest. Musk's companies, SpaceX and Tesla, have more than $13 billion in government contracts. Commercial rocket launches like the one Trump attended are regulated by the federal government, and SpaceX has complained that some of those regulations are slowing down technology.
Yeah, we should deregulate the space industry as well, even further. What? This post did not age well. Look who. What? What do you mean this post did not age well? Why didn't it age well? What? I don't understand. That shirt is a war crime. I was wearing, what do you call it? I was wearing Teddy Fresh.
Elon, get those rocket ships going because we want to reach Mars before the end of my term.
What are you guys doing? I don't even fucking care about this old ass post, dude. Chill the fuck out.
And Trump continues to name his choices for top jobs in his second term, announcing Linda McMahon, the former
Can we be fucking serious? Like, can we cover the goddamn news? Like, can we cover the man-made horrors beyond human comprehension for a second without fucking drama chirpers? Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, dude, I was friends with Ethan, okay? Like, what the fuck? Who cares? God damn. Oh my God. The fucking, very frustrating. It's like, failing streamer. I know, I'm fucking such a failure, dude. I'm such a failure with only 34,310 people watching, live concurrent viewers, you know, that we found out is like equivalent to CNN and NBC's time slot combined for the prime demographic. God, stop trying to fucking tell me the context of why this was a meme, okay? I don't care.
The executive who served in his first administration to run the Department of Education.
One other thing I'll be doing very early in the administration is closing up the Department of Education in Washington, D.C.
But that would require congressional approval, which has proved difficult. Among its responsibilities, the department manages the federal student loan and financial aid programs. It also runs achievement tests and is charged with enforcing civil rights laws that bar discrimination. 90% of school funding comes from state and local governments, and the education department doesn't dictate curriculum. And Trump chose another familiar face for his team.
He's been an incredibly successful man on television and medicine.
Naming celebrity doctor Mehmet Oz to run the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, which oversees health insurance for 160 million Americans. In a statement, Trump said Dr. Oz will work closely with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to, quote, take on the illness industrial complex and all of the horrible chronic diseases left in its wake.
How many of you think Washington's getting it wrong? And I finally think I might have the diagnosis.
And Trump's cabinet is nearly full. Yesterday, he announced Howard Lutnick, who's an investment banking CEO and co-chair of his transition team, as Commerce Secretary. So he'll play an influential role in selling Trump's tariff plan. Gail?
Caitlin, we thank you.
Early in the election cycle, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. threatened to potentially take votes away from President-elect Trump. That is until Kennedy ended his own presidential bid.
What a nightmare blown rotation. All I got to say is this is Trump's new education secretary, Linda McMahon, ladies and gentlemen. If you gotta go, what was it? If you got a bum, big bum, then work it. I don't know what the lyrics are. I'm sorry, this is hard. The guy slamming her was also the mayor. Okay, hold on. I have more funny things. Linda McMahon, Trump's pick for education secretary, resigned from a state education board shortly after a newspaper asked her about her false claim she had an education degree. She incorrectly claimed in 2009 that she had a bachelor's degree in education on a questionnaire from a Connecticut Board of Education post, according to news reports at the time. McMahon received a bachelor's degree in French and a teaching certificate from East Carolina University, according to her alma mater's announcement that she would deliver the 2018 commencement speech. The error on the questionnaire was reported by the Hartford Courant during her unsuccessful campaign for the U.S. Senate in 2010. She said at the time that she mistakenly thought her degree was in education because she did a semester of student teaching, and that she had written to the governor's office the previous year to correct the error after another newspaper noticed the mistake. McMahon resigned from the state education board one day after the Courant told her it intended to write about the error, the paper reported, but McMahon said the timing was unrelated. The state education board could not immediately fulfill a request to provide a copy of the questionnaire and other correspondence Wednesday morning, but the Trump transition team did not dispute that the error occurred. Not that it matters, but pretty funny watching people fail upwards like this. Speaking of failing upwards, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
And threw his support behind him. Then last week, Kennedy was rewarded when Trump tapped him to be America's next Health and Human Services Secretary. Right. A controversial pick given Kennedy's history as a vaccine skeptic and espouser of conspiracy theories. And today, President-elect Trump announced Dr. Mehmet Oz will serve as the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator and work closely with Kennedy. Our Elizabeth Schulze tonight with our prime focus on RFK Jr.
A last name synonymous with American politics, now the controversial nominee for a job leading the nation's public health system.
I nominated him for, I guess, if you like health and if you like people that live a long time, it's the most important position, RFK Jr. Bobby?
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is President-elect Trump's pick to lead the Department of Health and Human Services, a move Trump had hinted he would make on the campaign.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
The announcement marks the culmination of a long political road for Kennedy, from longtime Democrat to independent presidential candidate to a nominee in the Trump cabinet.
He suggested that we join forces as a unity party.
It's an unlikely path for a man whose family has deep roots in the Democratic Party. His uncles, President John F. Kennedy and Senator Ted Kennedy. Kennedy himself, the son of the late Robert F. Kennedy, who was Attorney General, then presidential candidate, when he was assassinated in 1968. Bobby Jr. was just 14 years old at the time. The Junior Kennedy eventually made his name as an environmental justice attorney, known for his work fighting to clean New York's Hudson River in the 1990s. He stirred controversy when he hired a scientist who had just been released from federal prison for smuggling wildlife, causing a board revolt at his organization.
What? Okay, I didn't know that part. I didn't know the wildlife part. That's amazing. This motherfucker has been doing this shit for a minute, dude. What is wrong with this guy? What is his obsession with wildlife, dude? What an interesting guy. This man loves doing weird shit with wildlife. And he loves others who do weird shit with wildlife as well.
But in recent years, he's been in the spotlight as a prominent vaccine skeptic, spreading debunked conspiracy theories, like on this Lex Fridman podcast.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
Pushing misinformation became a part of Kennedy's campaign when he launched his own bid for the presidency in April 2023 as a Democratic challenger to President Joe Biden.
I've come here today to announce my candidacy for the Democratic nomination for President of the United States.
Kennedy speaking exclusively with our Lindsay Davis about his decision to run.
I felt like my country was being taken away from me. I felt like I wanted my children to grow up with the same pride in our country.
His candidacy raised eyebrows this year when he said he had faced serious health issues, like a dead worm found in his brain.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing? This country is in the dumps. It's over. It's fucking over, dude. Oh, my Lord. Oh.
And it turned even more bizarre after Kennedy's dead bear in Central Park in 2014, which he discussed in a video posted on his X account.
I said, let's go put the bear in Central Park and we'll make it look like he got hit by a bike.
American politics is so funny, dude. I mean, this really does take the cake. Like, this guy is going to be leading Health and Human Services, what do you say? What do you say to this?
This August, with Kennedy polling in the single digits, he suspended his run, throwing his support behind Trump.
Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
Now, Kennedy is in line to take charge of the country's main health agency. The Department of Health and Human Services oversees everything from drug approvals to food recalls to the response to pandemics.
Kennedy would oversee agencies like CDC, FDA, and NIH and have direct impact on public health policy. That includes the nation's vaccination programs, drug approvals, research priorities. This is a $1.7 trillion budget that can have direct impact on the lives of Americans.
Kennedy's nomination sparked immediate alarm in the medical field. Many concerned of how his unsubstantiated claims based on a mischaracterization of science could undermine the mission of agencies he would oversee as secretary.
There's a lot of just stress and apprehension about how this leadership can impact national health policies and overall public health confidence.
Kennedy's views often fly in the face of the science-backed risk-reward calculation of the public health community. He's written books and spoken publicly as part of his anti-vaccine nonprofit Children's Health Defense, spreading misinformation that vaccines cause autism in children. The fraudulent study that sparked that idea decades ago was retracted, and multiple high-quality studies since have found no link between vaccines and autism.
You've said in the past that there is a correlation between vaccines leading to autism. That's totally been debunked.
Wait a minute, who debunked it?
Who debunked it? Autistic doctors. I don't believe them. They have autism.
There are experts, authorities on one side, and experts and authorities on the other that are saying the exact.
No. There is no leading expert or authority on the side that says vaccines cause autism. Like, none. That's not a real statement. As a matter of fact, the most famous doctor is no longer a doctor because he falsified medical records in his investigation into how vaccines were causing autism. And of course, we here in America welcomed him with open arms. And I'm here, sir. And now he spends his days running around on the anti-vaxxer orbit, doing fantastic work, just collecting paycheck after paycheck.
Exact opposite thing. So no, I don't trust authority. I need to see the details.
Members of Kennedy's own family have distanced themselves from his views.
I would say that our family is united in terms of our support for the public health sector and infrastructure, and has the greatest admiration for the medical profession in our country. And Bobby Kennedy has got a different set of views.
He promotes drinking raw milk for its beneficial enzymes, but raw milk can lead to outbreaks of serious illnesses from microbes that are killed off in the pasteurization process. On COVID-19, he vouched for treatments like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, which showed early promise but were later found to be ineffective and even posed increased health risks. Kennedy is also championing a fight against fluoride in drinking systems, making sweeping claims about limited studies that showed a possible association between high exposure and lower IQ in kids, telling NPR,
We don't need fluoride in our water, and it's a very bad way to deliver it.
Scientists and a federal judge agree more research is needed, but fluoride isn't known to cause health problems at the low levels currently recommended. And they point to the benefits of fluoride, like strengthening teeth and preventing cavities, especially among low-income youth.
One of the dangerous things about RFK Jr. is that there are bits of things he says that are true, and they're mixed in. And it makes it really hard to sort out what things you should follow because they're based on fact and which things are not.
Some of Kennedy's main priorities do have support, like the causes of rising rates of obesity and chronic health in the U.S., and an examination on chemicals used to grow and manufacture our food.
If we're looking at the school lunch program in America, 30 million children get more than half of their calories from that program. It would be a wonderful thing to make that the best school lunch program possible. Give money to schools so that they have kitchens and can make fresh food. Get the corporations out of the discussion so they're not pushing processed food.
To pursue his agenda, Kennedy is vowing to overhaul one of the biggest government agencies.
Bro, Nick Merck supporting this guy makes it so weird. Nick being someone that prioritizes health shouldn't be propping out RFK. What are you talking about? Nick Merckx not only supported RFK Jr., but then openly, voluntarily admitted that he has not vaccinated his son. Like at all. 0 vaccines. Okay? So no, Nick Merckx supporting RFK Jr. makes perfect total sense. Thank God for herd immunity, dude. It's kind of funny though, because it's like they always point to like some of the good things that he says about like the vague statements that he makes about how like we gotta fix American health, like we gotta fix we're poisoning our food. And it's right. He's not wrong when he says that. It's just his solutions are fucking insane. Okay? Like, I'm with you. We do need to fucking fix the food. Okay? We need to make America healthy. I don't disagree with that. That makes sense. But if your solutions are like explode the FDA, then you're fucking wrong, you know?
HHS with 80,000 employees, even telling NBC News how he would gut certain departments.
In some categories of workers, there are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go, that are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids.
Kennedy's confirmation in the Senate is anything but guaranteed. Some centrist Republicans are already expressing doubt he's too extreme. Maine Senator Susan Collins telling the New York Times, I find some of his statements to be alarming, but I've never even met with him or sat down with him or heard him speak at length. While conservatives like former Vice President Mike Pence are urging senators to vote no on Kennedy's confirmation because he doesn't support strict abortion bans. Pence saying in a statement RFK would be the most pro-abortion Republican-appointed Secretary of HHS in modern history. Kennedy, a dynasty Democrat who shook up his political career to become a Trump Republican, is now banking on GOP support to win him a seat at the top of the federal government, where he promises a massive shakeup.
Our thanks to Elizabeth Schulze for that.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, my pleasure.
Your book is Where of All, I don't even know what.
What is this? Working with Elon Musk on this bipartisan issue. Why are young men running to support President-elect? Oh, this is an ad without a disclosure, I think. No! God, everything he posts is so freaky.
This box bowl and the ideal stocking stuffer. When I'm on the road, I try to use it as often as I can because it keeps up my hand-eye coordination and it gives me a workout.
Philly D just dropped. What did he say? Wait, did he talk about me in the Fox News piece? Uh-oh. New Philly D? Am I in it? Let's see. I like it. I want to be filled in. He's got gas station weed eyes. Robert F. Kennedy. He's a treat. He's a real treat, dude.
Sup, you beautiful,
What is
man.
it? Wait, why did you guys say new Philly D drop? I'm not in it. Why did you guys tell me about it? Y'all jebaited me, dude. You beautiful bastards. You jebaited me. Marat in the chat. Hey, new Philly D drop, by the way. At the top of the hour, by the way. Even though there's no 3-minute ad break, by the way, you can still subscribe, by the way. Which you can do for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. By the way, I'm so hungry. Holy shit. Seni yedirtmeyeceğiz. Wonder Gal 96, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Can you please answer my last question about the CIA? What is it? If Trump continues to stack his team with monsters and goes on to promise then some, you think there's any way the CIA is going to try and save the country like they try with the Kennedy assassination? Do you think the CIA was saving the country with the Kennedy assassination? No. The fuck? You're crazy. Chatter, you are out of your dang mind, okay? Why would the CIA do anything to Donald Trump? Donald Trump is following through on the wishes of some of the worst capitalists in this country. Yeah, the CIA is going to take action against their own guy. Crazy stuff. Anyway, I don't know about this Rudy guy, or Roy Teheria. Is that the right? Am I saying that right? Your camera quality is pristine. Yeah, I'm going to skip this one.
I think men are better than they think they are. However, messaging has just gotten out of control from both sides. You take a look at the fact that across the board, didn't matter what race they are, males turned towards Donald Trump, turned away from the Democratic Party. And why? That's the real question that should be asked. Why? Because in so many ways, the party basically dismissed him, left him out of the conversation, and not until the very end decided, oh, I better reach out and see if these guys are worth talking to. Yeah. And if you just look at the fact that we have nobody, I think, in this country right now, the majority of people, believe in an equal playing field where everybody gets to participate and play. But when you start shoving certain things down people's throats that they don't want to have to eat, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of forcing somebody to do something that they didn't want to do.
Well, there's the messaging toward men that Trump was doing, and then there was the messaging toward women that the Harris-Biden campaign were doing. I mean, I remember sitting at the Democratic convention and looking after...
Do you think Trump will actually deport illegal immigrants? Yes. I mean, he did. Why wouldn't he again?
3 or 4 days and saying, not a whole lot of men on this program. And that's intentional because they thought this was going to be an abortion election. But was that a misstep?
I think that abortion being the top issue was obviously a misstep because we saw that it didn't actually bring out the women that they expected either. But I would argue that from the onset, the polling showed that there were stark divisions between what men valued and what women valued, which isn't actually surprising across this country. But the economy was something that everybody valued. The way it was messaged, I think, was problematic. But in addition to that, looking at the psychological aspect of things, men have felt left out for quite some time, be it whether it was social groups, be it whether it was, leading to depressive states or other things. They've been very vocal about that. That existed long before the pandemic. I do think that there needed to be stronger outreach to men and men of all backgrounds. But in addition to that, there needed to be more men at the helm of the decision-making process on the campaign. A campaign that is run by a lot of women is probably not going to be the same campaign that can speak to men. I'm glad that we have this circle here because it matters.
And Harris's campaign were run by a mixture of men and women. I'm not sure. I think it's just about a theory of the case.
But no,
right?
a lot of the messaging strategies that were developed to men by white women. And I think that that is a problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that, with the appeal with Trump, I think many of his supporters are kind of attracted to that brash, unapologetic, that tough guy kind of persona that Trump has always kind of had. And I always think back to, the mid-'90s and late '90s when I was in college and high school, where you saw a ton of rappers that were name-dropping Donald Trump in all these songs. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that because all of them looked at Donald Trump as this unapologetic, brash guy that really pushed his success, his power plays, the art of the deal, all this stuff kind of made it what men look at as, okay, this is what I want. And men of all backgrounds.
What do we think about Stalker 2, by the way, the video game? Like, is it good? Or what are people saying about it? It's mid, it's glitchy. Okay.
I think that, you fast forward to what happened in this election and the dynamics of the populace of people that voted for Trump, men, women, Hispanic, white women, men in general, black men. It really showed that this election kind of teetered towards that, the catering towards men. And so it's just a thing where, you know, you look at it and Trump has made a name off himself from doing this. And I think that was a big part of why he won the election.
You know, Scott, I'll let you jump in a second, but I think you might find this interesting. You know, Scott Galloway, who has a podcast, many podcasts, but he's working on a book about.
Oh, thank God we have Scott Galloway's take on this, man.
What's going on with men in the
I was really wondering what he had to say about men.
Country. He writes this: young American men are in a crisis of underemployment, under-socialization. Soaring college costs affect people regardless of their gender, but manufacturing jobs, once a ticket to the middle class for men without college degrees, have been offshored.
Okay, never mind. He's actually not wrong. Okay, I'll give this to him. Scott Galloway once famously said the reason why you know, people protest at the behest of Palestinians is because they don't get pussy. Okay, actual freak shit. That right there was enough for me to discount like anything he will ever say for the future. Although I will reluctantly admit his analysis here is correct.
Housing is increasingly unaffordable. Men are stuck. They are isolated, despair.
Yeah, his takes on men are fine, with the exception of anything Israel related. When you hear shit that he says about Israel, stay the fuck away. Oh,
President Biden and Vice President Harris are giving away this military base. They're giving it away.
God, I fucking hate Congress so much.
And unproductive, prone to obesity, drug addiction, and suicide, susceptible to misogyny, conspiracy theories, and radicalization. They make inadequate mates, employees, and citizens. It's a pretty dire picture that he paints there, and it seems what he's saying is that Trump spoke to that.
Well, I agree. First of all, I agree with most of everything that's been said here already, and I agree with some of this assessment. I do think we have a crisis of especially young men in this country, and they're, in many ways disconnected from the rest of their families, disconnected from their communities, disconnected from our political culture, disconnected from our civil culture. And that's a real problem for a society that depends on all of us to be engaged and working together to make it as good of a country and as good of a society as it can be. I think the Democrats in this election made men feel like that the patriarchy is over, boys, and we're going to put you in the back seat for a while, and you're just going to have to accept it without any thought to the ramifications of telling.
Oh, no, dude, what? Oh, my God. Thank God. Okay, I hate this shit. I hate this shit so much. Oh, dude, men were comfortable with the patriarchy for far too long, and now the patriarchy's over, boys. You just have to sit back and expect it is obviously going to cause people to be fucking angry and resentful. First of all, the analysis is so stupid because it's the other side. This right here is literally the other side of the analysis that like a lot of rad libs make, right? Where it's like, oh, I mean, there is a correct attitude to have here, and rad libs are closer to the correct attitude in general, which is that a sense of entitlement under a patriarchal construct is what causes a lot of men to be genuinely frustrated with like women's equality. Okay, that part is correct, but it's not the entire subject. While that assessment is ultimately correct and it plays a role in the radicalization of young men, okay, the notion that the notion that that is the major reason and that, you know, the solution to that is to simply overturn it and go back to business as usual, put women back in the kitchen, is fucking idiotic. Okay, this is Asman Gold level of analysis being displayed on CNN. I mean, he's the staple Republican guy anyway. Here's the problem. Okay, when you're accustomed to a lifetime of privilege, equality feels like oppression, obviously. But besides that, this becomes a trigger point, like a pivotal point for a lot of young men, because they've been told in their upbringing that things were going to be different and that they have developed a sense of entitlement. But none of that would matter if their lives, if their material conditions and the crisis that they're experiencing in terms of like no future prospects, for example, was solved. This doesn't mean that there wouldn't be any misogyny whatsoever. Of course there would be. But the goal should always be to try and solve the systematic problems facing men and women, just everybody in general, so that there is less volatility, less instability, and less room for vulnerability that causes men to find themselves in the throes of this kind of reactionary sentiment. Okay. And I don't think the solution is to say, I abhor this conversation as a black woman, cry me a fucking river. I don't think that's the solution at all, because that only just like redefines the ranks. And I understand where you're coming from when you say that. I do. But if we're talking about solutions, then yeah, you can't say that like intrinsically all these people are evil and that they're irredeemable pieces of filth and they should just suck it the fuck up and die or cry. Okay. Now, ultimately, there are real concerns that are there are real concerns for facing all men and women alike. And we should be seeking to solve said issues. We should be seeking to solve said problems. Okay? Engaging in what redefines the ranks? Like, are you scared that black women will suddenly be in power because you acknowledge depression? Come on. Wait, what do you mean? Ultimately, Asmongold made a video about you. That's awesome. Hell yeah. I think that there are unhelpful ways of approaching this subject matter. And I think one of them is just to like immediately put up the defensive shield to be like, well, fuck them. And I get where people are coming from when they say that. I really do. Because you are subjected to the same fucking dog shit conditions. And on top of that, what? You're supposed to fucking capitulate to people who are crying about you receiving equal treatment. And then through that reception, thriving, at least doing better than your male counterparts. That's ridiculous, right? Like, I don't think we should be entertaining the whims of crybabies, okay? But I do personally think that there are solutions to this stuff, but they require, they certainly require doing something the Democratic Party refuses to do, which is address the underlying material inequalities from the basis of class and focus on universality rather than trying to identify different segments of the population and then like hyper targeting to them with like wishy-washy focus tested policy solutions that most people just don't really appreciate at all.
People who are out honestly trying to make a living, provide for their family, be good husbands, be good fathers. When you tell people who are doing their level best that either A, it's not good enough, or B, you're part of the problem, what do you expect? And then finally, as a political tactic, you know, the attempt to put walls on the ticket, and that was going to somehow solve all of the problems that had been built up for years, was ridiculous, because it turns out Walz was the last person that men wanted to hear from. And I remember at the beginning of that whole campaign, when they put him on, I sat right here, and people were like, oh, they got camouflaged hats. They're going to be wearing them in the deer stands this fall. And I think to your point that you just made, that was not, that idea that was not formulated by a bunch of dudes who actually go deer hunting. It was come up with by a bunch of people who've never met a dude that actually goes deer hunting. But when you try to put that kind of window dressing on a real communications problem or a real relationship problem, it gets exposed immediately.
I did a fun little experiment. I knew we were going to be talking about this tonight. So I have a text chain that's been going on with my friends from college and law school for about 15, 16 years. It's all guys. Some are married, some are not. Some have kids, some do not. Some are former Democrats. They are all MAGA now. So I sent them a text and I said, I'm coming on the show. We're going to discuss this issue of masculinity and MAGA. Can you give me some PG thoughts? I'm going on a family show here too.
Yeah, he's a big bad guy. They don't have PG thoughts in the text thread, baby.
You may not be familiar with what we do here.
They will go to PG-13 if you want. Well, we're definitely not going to be reading the text. I will put it to I heard a few certain things. MAGA is fun. MAGA is fun. I heard it time and again from each one. Yeah, MAGA is fun. One of them said, you know, MAGA equals football and beer. The left equals HR and tofu. That was one of the nicer ones. Trump speaks to me. He speaks like a normal person. He's not a robotic politician. We can have a debate over what he says, but he speaks to them as a normal person. But the one thing that came across from all of them was, I'm sick of being told what to do. I'm sick of the media telling me what to do. I'm sick of the woke left telling me what to do. I'm sick of government telling me what to do.